The alien ship moved through the empty space like a shadow. Its black metal body looked like a beast with wings, cutting across the stars in silence. Inside that ship, in the deepest prison chamber, sat cages made of strange glowing bars. Creatures from many worlds were locked inside, their faces tired, their eyes without hope. Among them was a human woman named Sarah. Her hands were bound by chains, her clothes torn, her body weak, but her eyes still sharp. She sat on the cold floor, her back against the wall, staring at the alien guards who passed by her cage. The guards looked at her as if she was something more dangerous than all the other prisoners. Sarah could feel their fear. She could see how they always kept more distance from her cage than the others, but why? She was only human, nothing more, nothing less. The heavy door opened with a loud sound. Commander Zorak, a tall alien with skin like dark stone and eyes glowing blue, entered the chamber. His presence made the other prisoners shrink back in silence. His armor shone under the lights, and his voice carried the weight of command when he spoke. "Bring the human forward," Zorak ordered. 2 guards pressed a glowing button, and Sarah's cage opened with a hiss. The chains around her wrists pulled her toward the commander. She stumbled, but she stood tall, refusing to kneel. Zorak studied her for a long time. His lips curved in something that looked like a smile but felt like a trap. "You humans," he said slowly, his voice echoing in the chamber. "The galaxy calls you animals of war, creatures of rage, beasts that kill without mercy." Sarah's eyes burned with anger. She clenched her fists, her voice strong even in weakness. "I'll never be your animal," she spat. The chamber grew quiet. Some prisoners gasped. The guards tightened their weapons. No one dared to speak like that to Commander Zorak, but Zorak only laughed. It was not a laugh of joy, but a laugh of control, a laugh of someone who believed he already owned the end of the story. "Not my animal?" he said, circling her like a predator. "You will learn, human. You will learn that your kind was born for battle, and when the time comes you will beg me not to stop." Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, but she did not show fear. She stood silent, refusing to answer, refusing to give him what he wanted. The commander signaled, and the guards dragged her back into the cage. As the door shut, Sarah looked at the other prisoners. She saw their hopeless eyes, their broken spirits, but she also saw something else. When they looked at her, they saw fire. They saw resistance. A small alien creature whispered through the bars of the next cage. Its voice was weak but clear. "You should not anger him. He breaks those who resist." Sarah turned her head slowly. Her voice was calm but firm. "Let him try." But when the lights dimmed and the chamber grew cold, Sarah curled her knees to her chest. In the silence of the night, she thought of Earth, of the sky she might never see again, of the life that was stolen from her. Fear tried to enter her mind, but anger pushed it away. Why did they call humans animals? Why did they treat her as if she was more dangerous than all others? She was only one woman, trapped, chained, weak. Yet they feared her more than the giant lizards and horned beasts locked around her. The answer came like a whisper in her mind. "Because they know something I don't." The ship continued its path through space, toward a place no prisoner returned from. Sarah did not know the full truth yet, but one thing she promised herself: she would not break, no matter what games the commander played. Still, deep inside her chest, she felt a strange pull, a strange fire. She did not want to admit it, but maybe the commander was right about one thing. There was something inside her, something waiting to come out, and that thought scared her more than the chains around her wrists. The prison ship floated through endless darkness, carrying its collection of broken lives. But inside the cages, whispers began to move like hidden flames. The whispers were not about the giant lizards or the insect warriors or even the scaled beasts locked away. The whispers were about the human. Sarah. She sat in silence, her back against the bars, her face calm. But the silence around her was not peace. It was weight. The other prisoners watched her carefully, and even when she closed her eyes, she could feel them studying her. They had all seen what happened when she defied Commander Zorak. They had seen her stand tall and shout at him, not caring about his power. And most of all, they had seen his reaction. Not anger, not punishment, but amusement, as if he was waiting for something only he understood. Sarah wanted to ignore them, but curiosity won. She turned her head and looked at the creature in the next cage, the one who had warned her before. It was small, no taller than her chest, with green skin and wide eyes like pools of glass. Its thin fingers gripped the glowing bars. "Why do you all keep staring at me?" Sarah asked, her voice low. The creature hesitated. Then it whispered, "Because you are human." Sarah frowned. "So? That doesn't mean anything here." The creature's eyes blinked slowly. "It means everything. Out there beyond the stars, your kind is feared. Whole armies fall when humans fight. You are not many, but you are dangerous." Sarah shook her head. "That's not true. I'm just a person. I can bleed, I can die just like anyone else." But the creature leaned closer. Its voice carried a quiet kind of terror. "Maybe you do not see it, but the rest of us do. The commander sees it too. He wants to wake it inside you." Sarah turned away, her stomach twisting. She wanted to deny it. She wanted to laugh at the idea. But a part of her remembered the arena, the robotic beasts, the way her body had moved faster than her mind. She had fought like a machine, every strike perfect, every instinct sharp. She had felt something inside her, a fire she couldn't explain. Her chains rattled as she pressed her hands against her knees. She whispered to herself, "No, I'm not an animal. I'm not." But the ship did not care for her words. Days passed. The prisoners were dragged out one by one, forced to fight in strange tests. Some returned injured. Some never returned at all. Sarah watched, her anger building, her fear growing. Every time the heavy doors opened, she expected her name to be called, and then it was. The guards pulled her from the cage again, their weapons ready. Sarah's heart raced, but she forced her legs to move steady, her face calm. She would not let them see fear. They led her into a chamber filled with strange machines. Bright lights burned from the ceiling, and glass tanks lined the walls. Inside those tanks floated alien bodies, frozen in liquid, their faces twisted in pain. Sarah's chest tightened at the sight. Commander Zorak stood in the center, his hands behind his back. "Do you know why you are here?" he asked. Sarah's jaw tightened. "To play your sick games," Zorak smiled, his teeth sharp. "Not games, proof. I will show you what you really are." The machines hummed to life. A table rose from the floor, its surface covered in glowing symbols. The guards pushed Sarah onto it, locking her wrists and ankles with steel clamps. She struggled, but the chains held firm. "Let me go," she shouted. But Zorak only leaned closer. "The galaxy has seen humans destroy empires. Your rage, your instincts, your will to survive, these are not weakness. They are the true weapons of your species, and I will awaken them." Sarah felt a pulse of energy pass through her body. The machines scanned her, glowing symbols racing over her skin like fire. Her heart pounded faster, her breath shallow. She could feel something waking inside her, something she did not want to face. She screamed, not in pain, but in defiance. "I am not your weapon." The machines stopped. The lights dimmed. Zorak's laughter filled the chamber, deep and cruel. "Not yet," he said softly. But soon, the guards dragged her back to the cage. Her body shook, not from fear, but from the strange energy still burning under her skin. She sat on the floor, her breath heavy, her eyes wide. The small green prisoner looked at her again. "You felt it, didn't you?" Sarah said nothing. But deep inside she knew the truth. Something was changing. Something was waking. And no matter how much she tried to deny it, she could not stop it. She remembered Zorak's words. "One day, you will beg me not to stop." And for the first time, Sarah felt afraid, not of him, not of the aliens, but of herself. The prison ship sailed through endless stars, but inside its cold metal walls, Commander Zorak's thoughts burned hotter than any sun. He could not stop thinking about the human, about Sarah. Unlike the other captives, she did not break. She did not beg. She did not cry. Instead, she defied him, stood tall in her chains, and dared to shout in his face. Most prisoners collapsed into silence after a single day, but Sarah only grew sharper, her fire burning stronger with each test. To Zorak, she was not just another prisoner. She was a puzzle, a key to a secret the galaxy feared but did not fully understand. He had studied humans before, old recordings of battles where small groups of them tore through armies 10 times their size. History told of planets burned not by fleets but by desperate bands of human survivors who refused to die quietly. Zorak wanted that power. He wanted to control it, to command it, and Sarah was the perfect specimen. He stood on the command deck looking out at the stars, his claws tapping against the railing. A junior officer approached, bowing low. "Commander, the human resists again." She refuses food, refuses speech. She may weaken. Zorak's lips curved into a slow smile. No, she will not weaken. She will fight. That is her nature. And I will be the one to shape it. Sarah sat in her cage, her head against the bars, her thoughts running like storm winds. Her body still carried the echo of the strange energy from the machines. It made her muscles twitch, her blood feel too hot. She hated it. She hated him. But she could not stop thinking about his words. Humans are born for war. Humans are animals of survival. She wanted to deny it, but memories whispered in her mind. Memories of Earth, of the chaos when the aliens first invaded. She remembered fighting for her life, swinging a broken pipe at armored soldiers, refusing to give in even when escape seemed impossible. She remembered the fear in their eyes when she struck. Maybe Zorak was right. Maybe there was something inside her, but she would never let him use it. Never. That night, when the chamber lights dimmed and the guards left, Zorak came to her cage alone. His shadow fell across the floor like a beast waiting to strike. Human, he said, his voice deep, calm, but filled with hunger. Sarah did not look up. Go away, Zorak chuckled. You think silence will save you? You think refusing me will hide what you are? He crouched low, his glowing eyes meeting hers through the bars. Every moment you resist, I learn more about you. Every shout, every refusal, every spark of anger. These are the pieces of your true self. You are not weak, Sarah. You are a storm waiting to rise. Sarah's head snapped up, her eyes blazing. I am not yours, Zorak's smile widened. Not yet. For a long moment they stared at each other. The cold silence of the chamber wrapped around them, heavy and sharp. Finally Zorak stood, his tall figure blocking the faint light. One day, he said softly, almost like a promise, you will beg me not to stop, and when that day comes, you will understand what it means to be human. Then he walked away, his footsteps echoing like drums of war. The next day, Sarah was dragged once more into the arena. This time no robotic beasts waited. Instead, another prisoner stood across from her. A tall warrior from a reptilian species, his scales glowing with battle paint. His claws were sharp, his teeth bared. Fight, Zorak commanded from above. His voice carried through the chamber like thunder. Sarah shook her head. No, I won't, the reptilian warrior growled, stepping closer. He had no choice either. The collars around their necks burned if they disobeyed. He raised his claws, ready to strike. Sarah's breath caught. She didn't want this. She didn't want to hurt him. But when his claws slashed near her face, her body moved before her mind could think. She ducked, rolled, and struck back with her chains. The impact sent the reptilian sprawling across the floor. Gasps filled the arena. Sarah froze, her chest heaving. She had not wanted to fight. But her instincts had answered for her. Zorak's laughter rolled through the chamber like fire. Yes, yes. Do you see it now? You fight because it is who you are. Not because I command you. Not because you choose it. Because it is written in your blood. Sarah's eyes burned with tears of rage. She screamed back at him, I will never be your animal. But Zorak only leaned forward. His glowing eyes locked on her, obsession burning brighter than ever. No. He whispered to himself, you will be much more than that. That night, when Sarah sat shaking in her cage, she realized something terrifying. Every time she swore she would resist, every time she swore she would not fight, something inside her still answered, and Zorak knew it. He wasn't just trying to break her. He was waiting for her to break herself. The arena was alive with sound. Metal walls shook as thousands of alien voices screamed from the stands above. Lights blazed down, turning the floor into a stage of blood and fear. The prisoners who survived their cages often ended up here, forced to fight until their strength or their spirit broke. Today, the arena was different. Today, the crowd was not here to watch another beast fight another beast. Today, they came for something new. They came to see the human. Sarah stood in the center, her wrists chained, her clothes dirty, her eyes sharp but tired. She could feel the crowd's hunger pressing down on her like a storm. All around, strange alien species leaned forward, their jaws wide, their antennae twitching, their many eyes glowing with excitement. They were not cheering for her victory. They were cheering for her destruction. High above, in the shadow of a royal balcony, Commander Zorak stood tall. His armor reflected the firelight, his glowing eyes fixed on her. This was his show, his test, his proof. He raised one clawed hand. The arena fell silent. Then his voice thundered through the chamber. Behold the human. A species feared across the stars. A species called savage, animal, unbroken. Today you will see why. The ground beneath Sarah shook. Metal plates slid apart, and from the dark pits below, fire erupted. Out of that fire crawled the machines. They were massive constructs of steel and claws, built in the shape of beasts but more terrifying than any living predator. Their red eyes glowed like burning coals. Sharp blades dripped oil that looked too much like blood. They were not alive, but they were hungry. The crowd roared. The beast moved forward. Sarah's heart pounded. She wanted to scream that she was no animal, no killer, no tool for Zorak's games. She wanted to believe she could stand still, refuse to fight, let them take her. But when the first machine lunged, instincts took control. Her body bent low, chains swinging. She rolled across the floor as the beast's claw struck the ground, sparks flying. She grabbed a broken piece of chain and swung it with all her strength. The metal cracked against the beast's head. It stumbled, and the crowd screamed louder. Another beast charged. Sarah dodged, her body moving faster than her thoughts. She leapt, twisting in the air, landing on its back. Her fist slammed into its glowing eye until the light went out. The beast collapsed, smoke rising from its broken body. Sarah fell to the floor, panting. Her arms ached. Her chains cut her skin, but her blood was alive with fire. She looked around. The beast circled her, 6 more, all waiting, all watching. Zorak leaned forward in his balcony, his smile wide. Yep, fight, human. Show them what you are. The next 2 beasts attacked together. Sarah ducked under one's claw and used its weight to throw it into the other. They crashed, metal shattering. She picked up a fallen blade and spun, slashing through wires and steel. Sparks burst, fire rained. The crowd's cheers turned wild. Prisoners in the shadows stared in awe. No one fought like this. No one survived like this, but Sarah did not feel pride. She felt fear. Not fear of the machines, but fear of herself. Every strike was too precise. Every move was too fast. She was not just fighting to survive. She was fighting like she was born for this. She had sworn she would never be an animal. Yet here she was, tearing through metal beasts like claws through flesh. One final monster remained, the largest, its chest glowing with energy. It roared like thunder and charged straight at her. Sarah screamed and ran to meet it head-on. Chains whirled in her hands, fire burned in her veins. She leapt high, higher than she thought possible, and smashed down on its chest with everything she had. The beast exploded in sparks and flame. The arena filled with smoke. When it cleared, Sarah stood alone, shaking, bleeding, her chains broken. Silence. For one heartbeat, the crowd could not believe what they had seen. Then the arena erupted into thunderous cheers, the sound shaking the ship itself. Sarah fell to her knees, her chest heaving. She looked at her hands covered in oil and blood, trembling as if they belonged to someone else. High above, Zorak laughed, a deep echoing laugh that rolled through the arena like a victory bell. You see, he roared. This is the truth of the human. This is the beast inside the cage. Sarah's eyes filled with tears of rage. She wanted to scream, to deny it. But deep inside she could not escape the truth. She had fought like no other. She had become what she swore she would never be. The crowd kept cheering, the machines lay destroyed, and Commander Zorak's obsession burned brighter than ever. Sarah whispered to herself, broken and furious, I'll never be your animal. But her voice was drowned in the storm of alien applause. The arena's cheers still echoed in Sarah's ears long after the fight was over. Even when she was dragged back into her cage, her body weak and her skin cut, the sound of that roaring crowd lived in her mind. They had not seen her as a prisoner. They had not seen her as a victim. They had seen her as a spectacle, a beast unleashed. She sat in the dark corner, trembling. Her hands were stained with oil and blood, her chains heavy around her wrists once more. She hated herself for surviving. She hated the way her body had moved with such power, as if it had been waiting all along. Across the cages, the other prisoners stared at her with wide eyes. Some looked at her with awe, others with fear. None spoke, but the silence around her was louder than any word. The small green prisoner who often whispered leaned closer to the bars. You fought like a god, it said. You gave us hope. Sarah shook her head. Her voice was low, almost broken. No, I gave him exactly what he wanted. Days passed. Sarah refused food when the guards brought it. She refused water too, letting the bowl sit untouched. Her body ached, her stomach cried, but her mind was stubborn. If Zorak wanted her to fight, she would starve instead. If he wanted her to become his weapon, she would weaken herself until she was useless. She would not give him another show, but her body betrayed her. At night, her muscles twitched with restless fire. She dreamed of the arena, of claws and metal teeth, of her own fists smashing through steel. She woke with sweat covering her face, her heart racing like a drum. Sometimes she wondered if the fight had changed her forever. On the command deck, Commander Zorak watched her through glowing screens. His claws tapped slowly against the metal table as he studied her image. "She resists," said one officer. "Her strength may fade." Zorak smiled, his eyes sharp. "Do you not see? Even when she starves, she burns. Look at her eyes. Look at her silence. The fire is still inside. She fights herself now, and that is the sweetest war of all." The officer lowered his head, uneasy. Zorak leaned back, whispering to himself, "She cannot run from what she is. No human can." One evening, the cages shook as another prisoner was dragged away. The small green creature remained, its large eyes fixed on Sarah. It whispered again, voice desperate this time. "You should not resist this way. If you fight, maybe some of us live. Maybe you save more than yourself." Sarah turned her head slowly, her face pale, her lips cracked. "And what then? I become his weapon? I kill for his games?" The creature's voice trembled. "Perhaps, but maybe one day you use it against him." The words cut deep. Sarah wanted to reject them, but a small seed of doubt grew in her heart. Could fighting truly save lives? Could resisting only lead to more death? That night, Zorak came to the cages again. He walked slowly, his boots echoing on the floor, his glowing eyes scanning the prisoners before stopping on her. "Still you resist," he said softly, almost with amusement. "Still you starve, still you fight yourself." Sarah did not answer. Zorak stepped closer, his voice lowering like a whisper in the dark. "You think this makes you strong? It makes you weak. A true human does not hide from the fire inside. A true human embraces it." Sarah raised her head, her eyes filled with fury. "A true human chooses. And I choose not to be your animal." For the first time, Zorak's smile faltered, but only for a heartbeat. Then he leaned back, his grin returning. "We will see how long your choice lasts. We will see how long before the fire inside you burns everything you love." He turned and walked away, his laughter echoing down the corridor. Sarah pressed her forehead against the cold bars. Her body was weak, but her spirit still held. She whispered to herself, almost like a prayer, "I won't break. I won't." But the dreams kept returning, stronger each night. The fight, the power, the fire, and in the deepest part of her heart, Sarah feared the truth. She feared that Zorak was not trying to force something into her. He was trying to awaken something that had always been there, something she could not stop. The prison ship groaned as it moved through endless black space, its engines humming like a beast in chains. Inside, the cages were restless. Fear spread through the prisoners like smoke. Something was coming. Something worse than the arena. Sarah sat in her cage, her body thin from hunger, her eyes hollow but still sharp. She had refused food for days, clinging to her choice, clinging to her humanity. But tonight, even she felt the change in the air. The guards were tense, their movements quick and nervous. The floor trembled under heavy footsteps. Then the great doors opened, and the smell of burning metal filled the chamber. Through the doorway, chained by 10 guards, dragged by thick cables, came a monster. It was not a machine like before. It was alive, flesh mixed with steel, a creature taken from some forgotten world and twisted into a weapon. Its body towered over the cages, its claws dripping acid, its jaws lined with metal fangs. Its roar shook the walls. The prisoners screamed, pressing themselves against the back of their cages. Even the strongest warriors trembled. The monster's glowing eyes scanned the rows of captives like a predator choosing its next meal. Commander Zorak entered behind it, his tall figure calm, his voice smooth. "Behold," he said, spreading his arms, "the beast that will remind you of your place. Tonight the cages will be tested. Tonight we will see who survives." The monster roared again, pulling against its chains. The guards struggled to hold it, but their fear showed in their eyes. The smell of death filled the chamber. Sarah's heart pounded. She gripped the bars, her knuckles white. This was not another game. This was not an arena fight with rules. If that thing was unleashed, it would slaughter everyone. The small green prisoner whispered from the next cage, its voice trembling. We will die. All of us. Shorek's smile widened. Unless someone entertains me. Unless someone proves themselves. His eyes turned to Sarah. Unless the human fights. Silence fell. Every prisoner turned their gaze toward her. Even the guards looked at her cage waiting. Sarah shook her head, her voice cracking. No, I won't. I told you I'll never be your animal. Shorak chuckled, his voice low. Then you will watch them all die. Their blood will be on your hands. The chains around the monster loosened. It roared, its claws tearing sparks from the floor. The prisoners screamed, their fear echoing off the metal walls. Sarah's chest tightened, her breath fast. She wanted to stay firm, wanted to keep her promise. But when she saw the small green prisoner crying, when she heard others whispering prayers, her heart broke. She could not watch them die. Not like this. Her voice tore out of her throat, louder than she meant, raw and desperate. Stop! Stop! Don't release it! The chamber froze. Shorak tilted his head, his smile deepening. And why should I stop? Sarah gripped the bars, her whole body shaking. Tears burned her eyes. Because I'll fight. I'll fight it. Just don't let it kill them. For the first time, she begged. The words tasted like poison, but they spilled out anyway. Don't stop me this time. Don't chain me. Let me fight, please. Shorak's laughter rolled through the chamber like thunder. Finally, the human begs. He raised his clawed hand, and the guards tightened the monster's chains again, pulling it back. Very well. You will fight, and they will live if you win. The prisoners stared at Sarah in silence. Some with hope, others with guilt, but all with wide, fearful eyes. She had become their only chance. The guards unlocked her cage and dragged her forward. Sarah's legs shook, but not from fear. Her body burned with fire, the same fire she had tried to starve out. She could feel it rising again, eager, hungry. Shorak leaned close as she passed, his glowing eyes piercing hers. Do you see now, human? You do not fight because I order you. You fight because you must, because it is who you are. Sarah turned her face away, her tears drying into steel. She hated him. She hated his words. But deep inside she knew the truth. She had begged for this, not for herself. For them, and now she would unleash everything inside her. The arena doors opened. The monster roared. The chains on her wrists were unlocked. For the first time, Sarah stepped forward not as a prisoner dragged into battle, but as a fighter who chose it. The crowd above screamed with excitement. Shorak smiled, his obsession burning like fire. And Sarah, her fists clenched, her eyes fierce, whispered to herself one last promise. I'll fight, but not for him. Never for him. The arena burned with firelight, shadows dancing across the walls as the monster roared. Its steel-plated chest glowed with red energy, its claws leaving deep scars in the metal floor. The crowd above screamed with wild hunger, stamping their feet, shaking the ship with their voices. And there, in the center, stood Sarah. No chains this time. No cage. Her fists were free, her eyes fierce. The moment she had begged for was here. The monster lunged. Its claws slashed the air, tearing sparks from the ground. Sarah rolled aside, the heat of its breath scorching her skin. Her body moved fast, too fast for thought, every muscle guided by instinct. She snatched up a broken spear left from an old fight and swung hard. The weapon cracked against the monster's plated arm, sparks exploding. The beast roared, but it did not fall. It struck back with a swipe that threw Sarah across the floor. She landed hard, pain bursting through her ribs. For a moment she gasped, almost too weak to rise. The crowd cheered for her death. But then she remembered the prisoners watching. She remembered their whispers, their hope. She forced her body up, blood dripping from her mouth, and screamed back at the monster. The fight raged. Sarah dodged, struck, rolled, and climbed. She leapt onto the monster's back, chains still dangling from her wrists like whips. She wrapped the metal around its throat and pulled with all her strength. The beast thrashed, slamming her against the wall, but she held on, fire in her eyes. The energy in its chest pulsed brighter, ready to unleash. Sarah felt it building under her, like a bomb about to explode. With one last cry, she drove the broken spear deep into its glowing chest. The explosion lit the arena like a second sun. Fire, smoke, and metal rained down. The crowd screamed in shock and awe. When the smoke cleared, the monster lay dead, its chest dark, its body broken, and Sarah still stood. Her arms shook, her chest heaved, but her eyes blazed with victory. She looked at her blood-stained hands, trembling, then at the prisoners in the cages. Their faces were filled with awe. their cheers rising louder than the crowd above. For the first time, hope lived in their eyes. High above, Commander Zorak leaned forward, his glowing eyes wide. Then his lips stretched into a terrible smile. His voice thundered over the arena. "Behold, the truth of the human." The crowd roared with him. He raised his claws, his words echoing like fire. "Do you see? She is not weak. She is not prey. She is the animal of war. She is the storm the galaxy fears." The audience screamed, some in joy, some in terror. Zorak's laughter rolled like thunder. To him, this was victory. Proof of his obsession. Proof that humans were not just survivors, but weapons to be used. Sarah's body shook with rage. She glared up at him, her voice breaking through the chaos. "No," she shouted. "I am not your animal." The arena fell silent for a heartbeat. Every alien eye turned to her. Her voice carried strength that no chain, no machine, no monster could silence. "I don't fight for you. I don't fight for your games. I fight for them." She pointed at the cages, at the prisoners who stared at her with hope in their eyes. "I fight because I choose to, because I will never kneel to you." The prisoners cheered, their voices rising together, drowning out the crowd above. They slammed their fists against the bars, chanting her name. Sarah turned her gaze back to Zorak, her chest burning with fire. "You think you own me. You think you control me. But this is my truth. I am human, I am free, and I will never belong to you." Zorak's smile faded for the first time. His claws tightened against the railing. His glowing eyes narrowed with fury. The crowd grew restless, torn between cheering for him and for her. Sarah raised the broken chain high, her voice strong. "I am not your animal. I fight for my own." The cages rattled as prisoners screamed with hope. The guards looked nervous, shifting their weapons. A spark had lit inside the chamber, a spark no one could stop. Zorak's laughter returned, but now it carried anger beneath the amusement. "So be it," he said, his voice dark. "You will fight for them, but you will still fight. And when the war comes, you will learn. You cannot escape what you are." Sarah met his eyes, her face unbroken. "Maybe, but when the war comes, it won't be your victory. It will be your end." The arena shook with noise, cheers, cries, chaos. Sarah stood among the ashes of the monster, her chains broken, her spirit unchained. The prisoners looked at her not as a victim, but as a leader. And in that moment, she knew this was only the beginning. The fight was no longer about survival. It was about rebellion. The war for freedom had just begun.